Well, hello everybody. What's up? It is 7:01 as we are hopping on. I'm actually gonna this week join y'all because I always feel bad because I miss out on a lot of the comments because the way we got everything set up, y'all a little far off, and so I never get to like really see the entire thing. And so I'm excited that this week I'm gonna join y'all and hop on my own phone. Oh, there we go. Hop on my own phone so I can interact with y'all. What's good, Caleb? See, now I see him popping up. What's good? It is what it is, man. I thought I wasn't gonna. I was really worried because if y'all, were asleep during this for some reason, a massive storm just hit out of nowhere. It just came in and popped out right back out. Uh, but it just came in, popped right back out, and I was like, man, what if the Wi-Fi what if it's bad? Like, what if it keeps on going in and out? Like, I was talking to Alexis, and I was like, oh man, should we like completely throw it out or anything like that? Which, yeah, y'all talking about the room, and I'm back at the church, because pretty soon, I don't know when, um, uh, I don't know when, just yet, but pretty soon we're gonna be able to start having services again, and so. I wanted to, kind of get y'all used to the atmosphere again. If you notice, Pastor Greg played a prank on us and wiped off some of our some of our Hubble telescopes. So sorry about that, Jacob. You're gonna have to do that again. But I know it'll be fun. The sign's backwards. Oh my gosh! I wrote it backwards because I thought it would be like the right way. Because when I see it, it looks right, but I guess not. Well, that was a major fail on my part, and I thought I was being super clever, but oh well. But before we get things started, first things first. It is for Spencer. It is May 27th, 2020. And I want to start off by saying happy anniversary to Lexis, my wife. It is our 4th year anniversary. We've been married 4 years now. And so it's been super amazing. I keep on playing a joke on her. Or I played a joke on her the other day. We were with her family. We were with her family, and her mom was like, man, it's been 4 years. Time flies whenever you're having fun, doesn't it? I was like, yeah, it has felt like a long time. But I'm just joking. It really has been a blast. I know she's watching right now, so I love you so much. And I'm so excited to be able to do life and ministry with you. It's been amazing to be able to just experience this with you from when we met in Bible school to where we are now. I just love it so much. I can't wait to see what God has in store for us more and more and more. And I love you so much. Secondly, I would like to say a happy birthday to a couple people. We actually have 3 people in our youth group right now that it is their birthday. We got Bailey Clausen, Gracie Boone, and Destiny Patterson. So happy birthday to all of you guys. Y'all picked a great day to be born, or I guess y'all were born first. So I picked a great day for y'all to. It's the right day. It's a great day, all right, to celebrate. So happy birthday to all you guys. I hope y'all are having a great time with it, and I love that. I hope you're hopping on to see this. If not, it's your birthday. You got an excuse. I understand that. You can go watch it later, and I completely understand. And then last but not least, I was also told today that it is Harambe's birthday. And so happy birthday and RIP to my man Harambe. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started on tonight. So right now we're in the middle of our series FOMO, entitled Fear of Missing Out, FOMO. And so it's been all about, we've looked at different stories in the Bible talking about the Israelites and what they've gone through, what they've experienced, and the different times they've kind of turned their back on God and how God's responded to it and how we can take that and work in it. So last week we talked about how we often ask God to operate in our lives, and we're like, God, please, take control of my life, show me what to do, except for the fact that we tell him to operate in this little tiny box, and we're telling him, like, I want you, there's the AC, I want you to, really help me excel in this area. And he may not want you to, that may not be his future plan for you. And so we often so many times does that, and we have to work on letting God run freely with who we are and the plans He has for us. That's what we talked about last week. This week, I might step on some of y'all's toes. I hope not, but sometimes you need a little slap in the face, a little pat on the back of the head, a little come on, you got it, like a little good game, like go on. So today we're going to talk about that we got to choose God over everything. And so we're going to look at the story of Elijah. It's so like, why would they do that? Anyway, Elijah in the Bible, he basically, it was him versus 450 other prophets of another God. And they had this offering contest, basically like offering show off. And and we're going to see who ends up winning. Spoiler alert, Elijah wins. If you didn't know that, God wins in this situation. If you didn't kind of already guess that. But the story's found in 1 Kings 18. And before I start in it, I want to give you some kind of summary up to it. And so right now, the prophet Elijah had promised a drought upon Israel for like 3 years. He said he let the king of Israel know, King Ahab, hey, God has, is pretty upset with y'all because you're turning to other gods, and you're not worshiping God anymore. You're worshiping other gods. Yes, the Israelites again started worshiping other gods, but this time they were still like, no, that God they call him Yahweh is what they referred to, God as. And so they were like, Yahweh is our God that pulled us out of Egypt. We know that, we recognize that, but He's also our God of our battles, and we take Him into battle. But He's not really the God of the flowers, and not really the God of this. And so for those gods, for those things, we need to pray to those gods. And so they started worshiping all these other gods. And so God, Yahweh, our God, the real God, the true God, was mad at this. And so He sent a drought upon the land. And they're going through that, and it happened 3 years, and everybody was super mad at Elijah. They blamed him completely for it. And so after that 3 years is over, God told Elijah that the drought's going to be over and that rain's going to start coming. So He's like, go tell King Ahab. And so Elijah comes up, walks up to King Ahab, and King Ahab's not actually really happy with him because he blamed him for everything. In fact, in verse 17, he calls him a troubler of Israel, is what he refers to him as. Like, oh, you troubler of Israel. That's exactly what he says. And so it's because King Ahab doesn't blame the drought on himself and on his people for, turning their back on God. That's not what they blame it on. They blame it on Elijah because he's the prophet. Like, he's the one that called this on us. He's the one that's upset from this. And so it's him that brought this drought on us. They blame him because so many times, we do the same thing, even though, Ahab blamed Elijah, but Elijah couldn't cause the drought. Elijah doesn't have that power. The power comes from God. And so instead of being like, oh, we did that and this happened, maybe we should go back to not doing that. Just like so many of us do. And just like when we learned a couple weeks ago that Aaron did whenever they were worshiping the golden calf, he tried to get rid of blame. He's not going to take the blame. So he's going to blame it on everybody else. And so he puts blame on whatever makes sense to him at that moment. And so we pick up in verse 18 that Elijah is now responding to King Ahab after he called him, you troubler of Israel, what are you doing here? He says, and he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but you have in your father's house, because you have abandoned the commandments of the Lord and followed Baals. So Baal is the other gods, is one of the other gods. Now, therefore, send and gather all of Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel, and the 450 prophets of Baal, he's calling them all out. Oh, and the 400 prophets of Asherah, he said, bring them all that eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahab sent to all the people of Israel and gathered the prophets together at Mount Carmel. And so Elijah came near to all the people, all the Israelite people, and said, how long will you go going back and forth between two different opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. And the people did not answer a word back to him. They're so confused because this culture that they created and the culture that it was at that moment was a culture that worshiped multiple gods, kind of like the Greek mythology and Roman mythology. Like they have a god for everything. That's what a lot of cultures did. And so the Israelites, like we learned last week, and as they wanted a king, the Israelites wanted to be like the other cultures. They didn't want to be they were the God's chosen people, and yet and he put them aside to bless them, but they wanted to be like everybody else. And so that's what you see a lot of in the Old Testament, of this going back and forth between God wanting to, set them apart and bless them, and them wanting to be like everybody else and not want the blessings. And so Elijah said, let's settle this once and for all. Like, I picture him walking up to, like, whenever he calls all the people and he's like, go get all the prophets, bring them all here. Like, all I can hear in my head is like the final countdown. Da-da-da-da. But anyway, so he presented these people, the Israelite people, with a choice. You can choose God or you can choose Baal. And we're going to find out who the real God is, because they were confused by this. They didn't understand why it was such a weird thing to worship multiple gods. Why can't we just serve them all? Then we'll cover all our bases. But God had given them a commandment that they and reminded on them before, and they've broken before, to worship no other gods. It is only God who is. I just got my my exercise goal from talking. That's how you know. That's the Italian in me. I talk with my hands. Anyway, I just got my exercise goal. That's hilarious. I can still achieve my stand goal, if you wanted to know. Anyway, it was that they wanted to be like all the other cultures, so they brought in this culture of worshiping multiple gods at once, even though that's not the plan God had for them. This is really bothering me now, because is that better? So now you won't be distracted by that, because I keep on getting distracted by that now that it's backwards. Anyway, so it didn't matter what the culture said was okay, and it didn't matter what everybody else said was the right way to do it. God said different. It didn't matter what the culture said was okay. It's not how God intended. And we're faced with that so many times in this day and age that, our culture will say one thing, but our Christian life and the way Jesus and God tells us we're supposed to live will say something else. And it's hard to kind of play both sides of it. That's why, like, you hear so many people talking about putting on a mask at church, because you're trying to play both sides. Like, when you're at church, you're all about God. But when you're at school, you're all about what the school, like, what's going to make you more friends and what's going to, get you more popular. Like, you're all about that stuff. And so you're trying to play these sides, but deciding who to follow is a critical and crucial decision in your life. Like, deciding if you're going to only want what God wants versus only wanting what other people want and what our culture says is okay. Like, you have to make that decision for yourself. And I'm a big proponent on free choice, and that's God. That's what God has given us, the opportunity. God has given us an opportunity to choose Him. That's what we were made for, to choose and love God back, and that's what our purpose is. And so, in doing that, you have to choose Him wholeheartedly, or only, or not at all. It can't be one or the other. Bible refers to it as lukewarm. Like, you need to be hot or cold, but you're lukewarm. And nobody likes a lukewarm shower. Like, if you've ever had like a super hot day and you sweat a ton and you're just crazy hot, a cold shower feels great. Like, when pro athletes hop in ice baths, because it feels great. At first you're like, oh, but other than that, after you get past that initial, it feels great. But a lukewarm, you're not hot or cold. It's lukewarm, and that's not the way God intended you to love Him. Not just a little bit. He wants all your love, all your devotion. Jesus tells the disciples multiple times that you have to choose to follow Him completely, without reservations and no compromise. We have to choose to honor God completely with our lives. And are you going to choose that, or are you going to choose just what you're comfortable giving Him? I don't want to. I want you to have your way in my life, God, but not there. We talked about last week. Put Him in that little box. Not there. I'm not really. I kind of want to see how that plays out. Maybe if that works out, then I'll run with that. But if not, God, I'm all on you. You have to choose who you're going to follow 100%. Let's go back to our story. So Elijah set up this competition to prove who the real God was. All right. He says, now bring 2 bulls. The prophets of Baal may choose whichever one they want and whichever one they wish to sacrifice. And they're going to lay it on the altar, lay it on the wood of their altar, but without setting fire to it. So don't set fire to it yet. I will prepare the other bull and lay it on the wood of the altar after them, but not set fire to it. Then each prophet will call on the name of their God, and you will call on the name of your God. I will call on the name of my Lord. And the God who answers by setting fire to the wood is the true God. And all the people agree. They're like, all right, that's a cool way to do it. And so Elijah, the gentleman he is, he's like, you know what? Go ahead, prophets of Baal, y'all can go first. Basically, he's like setting them up for failure, like, because he knows God is going to come through for his, and like the fake God that they're worshiping isn't going to come through because it doesn't exist. And so he's looking at them like, you know, you can go ahead and go first. You got 850 prophets for you to pray to. Like, they have the advantage completely in their court. Like, it's just Elijah versus these 800. I said 450 people in the beginning. I was wrong. I forgot they added the 400 prophets of Ashmael. I can go back and look, but Ashmael. But now they have 850 prophets against this one Elijah. But he knew nothing was going to happen, and so these prophets end up spending all morning to the afternoon to the evening, shouting and crying out to their God with nothing. And Elijah actually, it's kind of funny. Like, he starts making fun of him. Like, he's like, why don't you should shout louder. Maybe your God is taking a nap. Like, he starts like mocking him for like nothing's happening. You're doing all this. Like, you're doing your normal stuff that you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing even more. Maybe you need to shout louder, because that's what they were doing the whole time. And this is 850 people shouting. Like, it's super loud. And so basically, like, picture youth camp, but everybody shouting like the same thing. Like, it's crazy. It'd be crazy loud. But nothing ends up happening. They do this from the morning to the evening time, and nothing ends up happening. So now it's Elijah's turn, and he does something. Whenever you read this and you go back and look, what he does doesn't make sense at all, and yet it ends up coming through. So he gathers up 12 stones, and so each stone represents one of the 12 tribes of Israel, because Israel is one nation, but they're like also in 12 different tribes, kind of like how United States and 50 states, like that's kind of how it was like. And so he gathers up 12 stones and places them on the altar. And so in doing this, when you look back at it, you can see that he's actually gathering those 12 stones. That wasn't just like, I just gathered 12 stones to represent them. Like, what he was doing was he was reaffirming the spiritual unity of God's people despite their political division. Ooh, like how appropriate is that right now that, you know, so many people are politically divided, but right now we need a time where we need to be like in a unity spiritually. Like, we need to be in one spiritual unity, no matter what our political affiliation, or like no matter what, we need to be one together and reaffirm each other in just our love for Christ. And so this is what he's doing, is setting up these 12 stones and reaffirming their spiritual unity despite their political division. And so he tells the people, then he goes further and tells the people to dig a trench around the altar and fill it with water. And so they're trying to like have God bring down fire, but instead he's filling a trench around it with water. Okay, you know, water around it, maybe so the fire doesn't like fall down. Like, there's gonna be so much fire so it doesn't fall down. You know, okay, I get that. It's a little weird, but hey, you know, you're the prophet, I understand. But then he goes even further, and he was already against it's 1 versus 850 prophets. Now he makes the odds completely against him, and he makes it even harder, and he tells them to fill 4 large jugs with water and then to pour it on the wood of the altar and the bull. And so let me get this straight. For God to set fire to this, like to the sacrifice, like what the competition is supposed to be, set this fire down, like bring this fire down from heaven. Now you're pouring water, 4 large jugs of water on it. Like, that's ridiculous. That doesn't make sense. But he does it not once, not twice, not 3 times. He does it 4 different times. Tells them to fill 4 large jugs of water and pour it on the altar and pour it on the bull. And that's completely crazy. You want to burn this offering with fire from heaven, so you drench it with water. Like, that's the exact opposite of what you should be doing and preparing. Like, throw some gas on there. Like, throw some coal, man. Like, get something better. Anything but water. Like, water puts out fire. Like, that's what it's supposed to do. Why are you pouring water on this? But often God works in the most unexpected ways. I mean, all throughout, there's so many times that you can read in the Bible where one thing is supposed to happen and it doesn't make sense for it to be able to happen. Like, you can't explain it other than God. Like, the only way to explain it is God, like these miracles that happen, like you can only explain it with God. And that's exactly what happens, because sure enough, Elijah calls to God for God to show and prove himself to be the one true God. And that's exactly what he does. Boom, fire, sends fire down, and it ignites this offering and shows the entire people of Israel, and shows up these prophets of Baal and Ashermel. It's going to bother me if I don't say that right. Oh, Asherah. I was so close. Anyway, Asherah, he throws, he like shows all them up to show the one true God. And what I love the most is the way he like prays to God and like show and like calls on God to set this fire. He doesn't say like, all right, God, now it's your turn. Go ahead. I call you right now. Go ahead, do this. He doesn't start like commanding God. He starts telling God, like, look, this is where you can show your true power. This is where you can show who you truly are, that you're the one true God. Like, I believe in you and I want them to see this. He wasn't commanding God, because the power is not coming from him. That's what King Ahab didn't understand in the beginning. That's why he's mad at Elijah for causing the drought. Like, it wasn't Elijah that caused the drought. It was God that caused the drought. Like, Elijah doesn't have that power. And so he's showing them right now by talking to God, saying, God, if you can do this, I want you to show yourself and prove that you are the true God. He's not commanding God. He's showing that it's not Elijah doing this, but it's God working through Elijah. And so many times we're so afraid of like calling out to God, because you don't want to command God, or you don't want to like, it's scary to be used by God. Like, I feel like a lot of people are scared to be used by God, because you're like, man, what if it doesn't come through? Like, you can tell by the way Elijah was mocking these prophets that he wasn't scared at all if God was going to come through. He had such a close relationship with God that he knew beyond shadow of a doubt that he was going to come through, so much so that he was mocking the other side, because he's like, good, look, you might want to shout louder. Maybe they're taking a nap. Like, he says, maybe they're taking a nap. Like, he's going like hardcore against them, because he has so much trust in God. And then to go on before that, he's so much trusted in him that he pours water on this offering that's supposed to be burnt with fire. Like, he does the opposite. And I really feel like God wanted to do that, because it just shows you that if you follow God, no matter what, like, if you follow what God is telling you and what he's putting on your heart, no matter what, even if it seems counterproductive, keeping your trust in him will always be the right call. I want to say that again. If you're following God and he's telling you to do something, even if it seems counterproductive, I really feel like somebody needs to hear that. Even if it seems counterproductive, keeping your trust in him is always the right call. If you really feel like your future holds this and God has you doing something over here, like, it's, even if that seems counterproductive, you have no idea what God is preparing you for this. Like, it could 100% like coincide. Like, it could go together. Like, even if it seems counterproductive, trust in what God is telling you, and trust in what God is putting on your heart. And I just really hope that encourages you today, that, you can trust in God. Like, that beyond anything, what I want you to take from tonight is that as you're developing this relationship with God, you got to trust him. There's going to be a point in your life where you're going to have to choose between God and what the culture says. And whenever you start like making those choices towards God, he's going to be giving you more opportunities to show his love, show his power, show the true God that he is. He's going to give you those opportunities. And when those present himself, don't run away. Like, you've built up so much for this moment. Like, what if Elijah, whenever it came down to it, like he was like, man, I don't know if God's going to do this. Oh man, what if he doesn't do this? I'm going to look like an idiot. Like, you never see that worry in God. Like, he was just like, yeah, of course God's going to do this. And so if God's put something on your heart, see it through, trust him through the end of the process completely. So I really hope that encourages y'all. Some final announcements. Don't forget, we still got small group meetings every Monday night. Always check those out, guys. Just pop in, sometimes it's just a hangout, and that's 100% okay. Like, I miss you guys. We're finally getting services back. Like, Sunday services are back. Like, we just had our first one this Sunday, and it was amazing, because so many, we like, obviously whenever, the staff is like, trying to figure out if we're, what's the right time to come back, like what are the church, like what are the, like what's happening with other churches who have already gone back, why are other churches not coming back, like we're just, trying to gather all the information to be able to do what we feel is the right thing for our church. In gathering that, we asked a lot of other churches that had already gone back before us, hey, what's it kind of like? And they were saying with all the social distancing guidelines, it's, the right word is sterile. Like it's just it's just not church yet. But man, if you were here Sunday, that was not true for our church. Our church was very much alive and our church is very much vibrant. Like the energy in the room was just amazing. And so guys, if you haven't came back to a Sunday service, like I can't encourage you enough to do that. I miss you. I want to see your face. I can't high five you. I can't like go up and hug you, but I can give you one of those awkward, like, oh, I'm not really sure what to do in this moment. That, I guess that's the perfect way to do it. I can give you one of those, I'm not really sure what to do in this moment. And that's, even though it's awkward, like I want that just because I miss you guys. I want to see you guys. So please come on a Sunday service. They're getting completely packed out. And so right now, I think first service is completely full and second service is right there, right by getting full. So make sure you're reaching out to us. Let me know if you want to like go and like if you plan on coming to that service so we can save a spot for you. Like it's getting to that point where we're having to save seats. So like let us know so somebody can save a spot for you. So I love you guys. I can't wait to see you again. I can't wait to be able to have our youth services again. And what's cool is we were like wondering through all this, like, was this going to kill momentum? Like we just gained enough momentum to stay in the big sanctuary. Like it's been super amazing. And so through all this, what we realized that there's no way we can come back in here. Like I love the youth room, absolutely, but there's no way we can come back in here. Like that can't happen. That with social distance, there's no way. So we're going to be back in the main service. That's the plan right now. And so I love you guys. I can't wait to see y'all. I hope y'all have a good evening. And I just miss you guys so much. But I love you. I'll see y'all later.